Good morning. Today is day 3. It's a bright sunny day here, though we still haven't had any rain. It's still super dry. I thought we'd take a minute and listen to the birds. I thought we'd take a walk over to the towers this morning, the ones that are already there. We're going to walk through the woods. It's only a couple of 100 feet between my house and the power lines, the existing power lines. We walk through this little grove. Like I said, it's only about a couple 100 feet. And all of these trees that you see all around us, they'll all get cut down. Now I often see deer, fox, bright sun, moose. Well, I've not actually seen a moose in the yard. However, I have seen moose tracks, so I know that they come through the yard. But I see deer through here frequently. I know that there's a fox den. Remember when I said yesterday that a fox had eaten half of our flock of chickens the first year that we had them when we were free-ranging them? Well, the fox lives behind us, actually. The fox lives down there. And we know that because we followed the trail. Now we're facing south right now. So the fox lives just to the south, and that's also where my well stream is. I'll show you that later. As we're walking through this little woodsy knoll, I suppose you could call it. You can start to see the opening where it's barren. I'll turn around and give you some perspective. We're facing north here, going to the east, down to the south, facing west again. All these trees will be lost if Northern Pass comes through. There's also lots of squirrels, chipmunks, mice, lots of insect life that lives back here in this little group of woods. Here we are. My neighbors, their kids had built a dirt bike track out here. That's facing south. It's only about 8:45 in the morning. This area does get full sun during the day, you know, after 12 in the afternoon. And we're right underneath the lines. You can see them right there. The lines are about as tall as the trees. They're not much bigger. If Northern Pass comes through, these towers will be at least twice the size of these poles, twice the size of the trees. Here's the woods that we just walked through, that little knoll. All that will be lost. All along this corridor, it'll get widened out significantly. I used to walk my dog back here all the time when I had my dog. I had to find her a new home because we couldn't afford to keep her anymore since I've been out of work for so long. Oh, tracks. Probably deer tracks. Find lots of deer tracks back here. But all this here, which they came through and they cut down a couple years ago, these were all blackberry bushes, raspberries, blueberries. And the bear, which I'm not exactly sure where the bear den is. I'm turning to the north now. But it's up there somewhere. The bear used to come out here and hyperphage on all the berries that were down here. So when PSNH came through and they cut them all down, no more food for the bears. And I know that the bears are still around because occasionally they'd try to get into my trash. But, I mean, they've just found another food source, apparently. I don't know that the bear have woken up yet. There isn't a lot to eat because we haven't had a lot of rain. However, the light has been getting longer, of course, since symbolic. Well, actually, since Yule. I'm not exactly sure when the bears wake up, but I know that they do. Now, right here, you can't really see it because it's still in the shadow, but right along here and up is a snowmobile trail. We hear them all winter long. Didn't hear much this year because we didn't get a lot of snow. We got very little snow, actually, which is one of the major contributors to the drought that we're now in. The critical fire warning that we're having. I'm looking for some more tracks in the sandy areas to show you, but I don't see any. Like I said, we really need some rain. Rain and frost are usually the best circumstances for tracks in the woods. So like I said, there's this little dirt bike track that's underneath these power lines. When my neighbor's kids were young, I used to hear them out here all the time. And I never gave them a hard time about it, although I did ask them to please stop at 9 at night and not start before 9 at night. I could do 12 hours of dirt bikes, but I couldn't do much more than that, and I did want to rest from the sound. So here's the snowmobile trail that I was just talking about. It goes down there, the road is down there, and back up here. Now, I've often said that I kind of use the colloquialism over the mountain, as in my neighbors who live over the mountain, or the town that's over the mountain. Well, this is the mountain here, and that snowmobile trail goes up and around and hits the rest of the town. I call this road up here Sprained Ankle Way. When I first moved up here, I took my dog, a different dog that I had, for a walk and got about halfway up, and it's a pretty steep climb, and I slipped on a rock and I twisted my ankle, and I had to come all the way down with the dog on leash, and I was off my feet for about a week because it was so swollen. So I was just talking about tracks. Here are some right here. They look like deer tracks to me. Right there. Right there. And the deer was obviously walking to the north. Right there. Right there. And they go on. There's a couple more right there. So, if these lines come through that PSNH, Hydro-Quebec, and Northeast Utilities want to put through, I don't know much about the EM fields that are created. I know that they are very harmful to human health. I assume that they are harmful to animal health and plant health. So, I mean, will the deer and the moose and the turkeys and everything else still come walking through here? I don't know. I mean, if you could feel the electricity in the air, would you want to go walking through there? That's Sprained Ankle Way. That goes off to the rest of the town. So, I mean, these are all things that we have to consider as residents if we want these towers to come through our properties, and I don't. Oh, here's some old tracks. And since New Hampshire residents are not going to be the consumers of this electricity that people in Massachusetts and Connecticut and possibly New York are going to be the consumers of this electricity, they need to ask themselves, do we want a power source that's going to completely change the health and well-being of an entire state of people, animals, and plants? And if their answer is yes, then that means that we as residents of New Hampshire, those of us who oppose Northern Pass, have a lot of work to do, have a lot of education to do. But I have ultimate faith in people that if you talk to them rationally and reasonably, and you explain the pros and cons, that eventually they'll see that greed is not an acceptable way to attain material wealth. I don't know, maybe that doesn't make any sense, but I'm an optimist. I think people are good deep down inside. And I think that if you tell them and you show them how detrimental Northern Pass is going to be, the consumers are going to start to demand a cleaner energy source, one that isn't going to destroy landscape and farms and wildlife. I'm walking back through the knoll, going back to my house, and I have faith in people that they're going to stand up to PSNH and Northeast Utilities and Hydro-Quebec and say, no, we don't want Northern Pass. We don't want to destroy lands and a way of life in New Hampshire. Maybe I'm starting to repeat myself now, so... And I'm now going on for 12 minutes, which is much longer than I wanted. I wanted these to be about 5. But I'm long-winded. Apparently I like to hear myself talk. So, that's why this is going on for so long. And there's lots to show you. So now we're back out of the woods. We're back in my yard. And I'll end it there. Have a good day, and please, please, please pray for rain.